So I was asked to do this kind of video before, and if you like the format, please tell me, but if you don't, I could definitely do something different. Just tell me in the comments below. But basically, I'm going to give you guys a guide on when to trade and when not to trade. This is going to be a general guide, so if you have more specific questions, please ask me in the comments below. Can't promise I'll get to all of them, but I'll get to as many as I can. And if you guys have any other topics you want me to tackle in this kind of format, please let me know. I'm happy to teach you guys how to get better at the game. And let's just jump into it. So the first one is when to trade. I know I'm blocking the title, but I'll read everything. Don't worry about it. Killing important minions with lingering effects. This is very important, okay? Like the Phase Stalker can get the Hunter a ton of value. It gets them a secret for free, so that's 2 mana value for free. And it gets them a secret out of their deck, so that's something they won't draw, so it means they're more likely to draw their more important, like, damage spells or big minions. Priestess of Fury. Lingering damage. If you can't kill it, it'll just keep doing 6 damage every turn. Satyr Overseer will generate more minions. So on and so forth. There's also the Battle Fiend. That's the 1/2 that gains attack every time your hero attacks. And the point is, kill these minions, because these abilities snowball in themselves, and the sooner you kill them, the less value the opponent gets from them. So if you kill the Priestess of Fury immediately, he's only going to do 6 damage. But if you don't kill it immediately, and you go face instead for some reason, they do 6 more damage. And then if that 6 damage wipes your board, now you have a much harder time killing the Priestess of Fury just in general. And it means that you're probably going to have a worse time killing it. And it's going to snowball in itself. Satyr Overseer, the board will just get wider and wider. And when I say trade, if you have spells, that also counts as trading in my opinion. You're trading a spell for a minion. So in these situations, if you can use a spell to kill these minions, or in any situation, if you can use a spell to kill these minions, do that in order to keep your minion on the board so it can keep doing damage. Okay, just keep that in mind. When I say trade, it means both minion or spell, preferably spell, but most people think minion, so I'm just going to talk about the minion trades. The next thing is if you are low and you think that there's any possibility that you could die. Like if you're at 10 health, they have a Bloodfin Raptor, whatever, the 3/2 beast on the board, and they're a hunter. You're like, okay, all they need is a kill command and I lose. Why are they running the Raptor? I don't freaking know, but you know what? They have it. Got 5 damage on board. All they need is a kill command, and they kill you with their damage. But if you trade into it with your minion rather than go face, it's less likely that you die. And even if they don't have it, I think it's better to play safe personally, because if they do have it, you're gonna be like, what? Facepalm, what was I doing? I could have just killed that minion and lived and maybe drawn another option later, right? So, generally speaking, if you know that there's any possibility, if not even a decent possibility that you could die, trade into the minions. It's better to trade in and not to have needed to than not trade in and then get tilted because you think, oh, if I just traded, I could have won the game. This also helps your mental too. And the next one is value trading. Trading a smaller minion, 2/1, into a bigger minion, 4/2. Killing it off, getting objectively a better mana trade, and stat trade. Really, really good. Another example is trading a bigger minion into a smaller minion in a way where it'll live, and probably live for a while. Like trading a 4/4 into a 2/3, right? Doing that will allow your minion to, first of all, be at more than 1 health, so it's very hard to get pinged off immediately by, say, a mage, or a rogue, or a druid, or a demon hunter, or you get the point. Anything that can do 1 damage really easily. But even then, if you leave it at 1 health, like it still forces them to use mana on their turn and slows them down. So even then, it's good, right? So if you can kill a minion in a way that leaves your minion on the board, and it's something that you think that they will need to kill, whether it be by using a spell or just using a hero power to take more damage or whatever, value trade in, right? Because you get to keep it on the board, and 9 out of 10 times this is correct, and I will get into when not to trade in a bit. But just know that if you can get that value and trade into something so that you end up losing less stats, or you can save your minion entirely, that's really, really good. Next thing is trading in a minion to protect a bigger minion. Trading in this 2/1 to kill the 2/2, so that way your 4/2 can survive, is really, really helpful. It keeps your pressure on the board, and this trade is it keeps your board pressure in total up. The only time I wouldn't do this is an aggro deck, and I'll get to that later. But in most cases, using a smaller minion to protect a bigger minion is actually a pretty viable play. And the next tip is playing around secrets, right? Explosive Trap and Flame Ward, if you hit their face, the trap will go off and it will kill all of your low health minions. So if you use your low health minions early to trade into whatever minions he has on the board first, so that way it limits how many minions die to Explosive Trap or Flame Ward, that is ideal. Obviously, if you have minions with more than 3 or 2 health, depending on the secret, go ahead and just go face with those minions at the end rather than trading in. Make the opponent trade in after that, and then it just slows them down. And honestly, this is just a general rule to live by. Like, obviously, they could, if it's a hunter, they could have pack tactics, right? But the odds are, not even everybody runs pack tactics, but everybody runs Explosive Trap, if not 2 copies. And there's also a possibility it's a freeze trap as well. Or, I guess, snake trap also. But freeze trap will automatically be triggered regardless of what you hit. So, those are the 2 most common secrets out of the way. And those are the ones you want to plan for. And secrets are weird because you do have to, like, try to out-mind game them. But just guess that it's Flame Ward and Explosive Trap because they're the most common traps for their respective classes. And, play around it by trading your minions in first. The last thing is when you want to trade, usually, if you don't know what to do, the answer is trade. This entire guide is to help you make that decision easier so you know what to do in more situations, but generally speaking, I think it's better to trade and keep a minion on the board or kill the opponent's minion if you can, so that way you don't die. Like, it's better to keep yourself from dying and hoping to win the game off of the new board state that gets built, rather than not trade and potentially die or lose board control because they pump something. And honestly, in doubt, trading is probably better than ignoring the minion, unless you are an aggro deck, but I will get into that. This is a great example of a position where you might think, I should trade here. This guy is at 43 health, I'm at 11, he's got minions on board. But in this situation, I don't trade, and surprisingly enough, well, not even surprisingly enough, I win this game. This game happened 10 hours ago. It is currently 1:30 for me right now. In the game, it says that it was 3 p.m., so the time, the math adds up there. So this is the game that I played, into a warrior, and I won this game. And it is because I didn't trade. Or at least a part of it is attributed to that. So I'm going to hit you with some information really quick, just so you know my mindset at this point in time. I already knew he used Korkron Elite, both of them, so he didn't have any charge minions left. He had already used an Inner Rage and Rampage and a Bloodsworn Mercenary, so his burst combo, even if he had Grommash, was nullified. I had a ton of taunt minions, and I know warriors can't do damage with spells, right? That's just not how warriors work. They have weapons and value minions, and I guess they can do it with the bombs, but the odds of him hitting me 3 times with the bomb is really, really low, and having him do 4, 4, and 3 damage when I have minions on the board, like, that's ridiculously low, right? And probably won't happen. So he has no real feasible way of killing me, minus like 0.001% chance of it happening. I don't actually know the odds, but here we have it. Yes, technically, this 2-3 has a lingering effect, and there's an argument to be made to trade into this with my 5-5, and honestly, I probably should have done it, but the general idea of not trading here stays the same. I know that there's no real way that he can kill me. Trading into a 1-6 and a 1-9 means that I would lose 15 damage just to kill these minions, when it could go face. These 1-9 minions and these 1-6 minions aren't going to do anything to kill me. So basically what I'm getting at here is when you run your analysis, right, for this, if you're low and you think there's a possibility that they can kill you, if there's a possibility that they can kill you, you want to trade. In this situation, he has no possibility to kill me, especially considering I have a wall of taunts. So in this case, you don't trade. It's hard to explain in this situation. It's more of just a feel because I've played this for 1.5 years or 2 years. But play around with it. If you know the matchup and you know what deck the person's using, track the deck and be like, okay, what could he possibly do to kill me? And if he can't kill you, then just go face. And again, 2-3, there is an argument to be made to kill it. That was my bad, but it didn't matter. The general principle of going face here remains the same. Other positions of when not to trade. This one's kind of important. It's called the Hail Mary play. Basically, the Hail Mary play is hard to explain, but I'll try to do it through a long explanation. Basically, if you're in a position where you're going to lose in like a turn or two, like into an aggro deck or something, just go face and ignore his minions, right? If you're already going to lose anyway, regardless of what you do, then just go face. Or if you know that you're going to lose in like the next turn too, regardless of what he has, just go face. And a good example of this is Face Hunter, right? If you're playing into this matchup and you're getting later on in the game, and he has his side quest, and he just got it completed, or not completed, got it, it flashed, boom, 2 out of 3. You're like, okay, I'm lowish on health. He's got a couple minions on board, but that doesn't matter. Once he finishes his side quest, he'll be able to burst me for like, 6 damage minimum the following turn. So, in 2 turns, I am feasibly dead. In this situation, unless you are going to die that turn, do whatever you can to stay alive, I guess, bare minimum, and then just ignore his minions and go face. Because here's the thing. If you're playing into a matchup that's aggro, and you decide to trade fully, especially if it's like a hunter or something, you're just giving them 1 or 2 more turns potentially to find that last little bit of damage. Because there is a chance that they don't have the damage in their hand, right? So in this position, if you know that you're probably going to lose in like 2 turns anyway, just go face. Because I know I'm repeating myself, but in this situation, you're probably going to lose. So if you have like 2 5/5s on the board, and he's at 20 health, you're like, okay, I'm probably going to die next turn. But there's a chance that I don't. So if I hit him for 10 damage right here and maybe play 1 more minion, there's a pretty decent chance I could kill him the next turn if he doesn't kill me. And a lot of these situations you will lose. But there will be a couple situations where they don't have that lethal, and you going face instead of trading allowed them, or kept them from having that 1 extra turn to draw something. Because there have been times when I made the trade, been like, cool, I have board presence, and then the hunter just top decks like a kill command anyway and kills me, and it didn't even matter, right? But if I had gone face, the previous turn, he actually didn't draw any direct damage and would not have killed me. And this is just stuff that I've learned over time. So if you're ever in a position where you think you are going to lose in 2 turns, but not next turn, do what you can to stay alive that turn. Go face with the rest and try to race him, because you'll be surprised. They might not always have that removal, and it's really, really good for you if they don't. The next thing when not to trade is never trade a really big minion into a smaller minion. When I said value trade something big into something smaller, that there's like a limit, right? If your minion is going to do like 8 damage to their face, and this is another thing based on like feel, there is no like set formula like, okay, if your minion has 4 attack and you're trading into a minion that has 4 health, but your minion won't die, you always make that trade. But if they only have 3 health, then you don't make the trade. There is no formula. It comes with feel, right? But if there's ever a huge discrepancy between the minions, the minion doesn't really pose a threat to you, and the minion doesn't have a lingering effect, just ignore it a lot of the time, right? If it's just a 2/2 or a 2/3 or a 3/3 on the board, that minion's not going to mean that much. You doing 8 damage to their face gets rid of a fourth of their health, more than a fourth of their health, in a singular attack, which is a huge swing. Even if you're like a control or a slower deck, doing that amount of damage to someone, even if you know that you're not going to rush them down, wrecks their mental. Because they're like, oh shoot, I just took a lot of damage, I need to play differently, I need to play defensive. And if you do it, not only do you win the mental game, but you also just win like the game in general, because you made the correct play. And now he has to deal with your 8/8, and he's not going to deal with it in a way. Because let's say you're playing as a warrior, you trade in, he executes it, and now you just literally didn't do any damage at all, and he killed your big minion for 3 mana in total. Like, going face with it and forcing him to deal with a big minion like this is the ideal way to go. There is no set formula. It comes with just feel over time. In fact, in a lot of cases, if I have, say, like the Shield of Galakron or something, or just a 4/5 in general on the board, I still wouldn't trade into this 1/2. Heck, I probably wouldn't even trade into a 2/3 in a lot of cases, depending on what kind of deck I'm going, and I'll get into that in the next slide. But if there's a huge discrepancy in the damage that you can do and the damage that you will lose by trading in, just go face. Playing around removal. You want to play around things like Flame Strike, right? this is the most obvious example. It's something that's been in the game for a super long time. It's a classic card. Anybody could have it. If you are attacking and you know that you're playing against a mage and they might have Flame Strike, you're coming up on their turn 7. Don't trade into your minions and set up their health to have 4 or less attack. If your trade will leave them at 4 or less, or not attack, health. If your trade will leave your minions at 4 or less attack, do not make the trade, right? Because their Flame Strike will just kill you. If you're in a position where they could kill you with a Flame Strike, just go face, and again, make them make the trade. Because, like, you'll just miss out on damage anyway. It's the same exact rationale behind this. You miss out on 8 damage into trading this minion, and then they wipe your board anyway, and they probably would have made the exact same trade regardless. Like, they probably would have had to trade this in and then use a spell either way. You just traded into their minion for them, and then they wiped the board. So it's the same basic thing with this, except on a board-wide scale. Let your opponent make the trade and wipe your board so you can do the maximum amount of damage. And also with this, usually don't play... This isn't a trade thing, but usually just don't play a minion on this turn if you think that he might have removal. It just saves a card in your hand, so that way if he does wipe your board, you have more minions to build up the board later. The last thing is if you are going a hard aggro deck, generally you want to just go face. That is your win condition. Your strategy, you need to make your opponent make the trades, right? So if you're playing a face hunter deck, unless the trade is insane, like literally trading like a 2-1 into the satyr, the 4-2, or something even bigger, like something that's an objectively really, really good trade, just go face. There's no reason to trade your 2-1 into his 2-2, or there's no reason to trade your 2-1 into his 3-2 with like no ability because it had a battle cry and it no longer matters, right? Like an acidic swamp ooze. Like, sure, he killed your weapon, go face with the minion. Trading into the acidic swamp ooze means nothing, right? Doing that keeps you from doing 2 more damage to his face, and that damage could be the difference between you winning the game and losing, because you're going to run out of resources way before they do. So trying to trade and value trade doesn't work, because you don't go for value. Your value is killing them before they get value. Okay. Then the next thing is it's actually why a lot of people lose aggro decks, or aggro decks when they could win, is they make some trades that they probably shouldn't, just from when I've watched friends play and stuff. They'll be like, oh, I can trade this 2-1 into this 3-2, and that's great. No, you go face, because honestly, if they're going to build up a board that's big enough to kill you anyway and outrace you, you weren't going to win that game anyway. So you might as well play to your win condition, which is just go hard to the face and not give them the time to get a heal, removal spell, or a taunt minion, or just build anything in general. In aggro versus aggro, like I said, killing the 4-2 satyr, in aggro versus aggro, if you can get really good value trades, or you know that you are going to die next turn if you don't make this trade, then you can also make the trade. That's viable as well. So I hope this helped. And the last thing is, make sure you have lethal before you trade. Like, if I've done this so many times where I'm like, oh, I can get this great value trade, and then Twitch chat's like, hey, wait a minute, you actually only needed 3 more damage to kill him, and the minion you attacked with had 3, and you traded in with it instead of it going face. And I'm like, oh crud, I could have won that, couldn't I? And yeah, so if you're ever in that position, just look for lethal first. And anyway, that is the end of the slideshow. This is the end of the little tutorial. If you like this format, please tell me. If you want me to go over topics in less detail to speed this up, let me know. If you guys want me to keep up this amount of detail and let it be like 18 minutes, let me know that you liked it. Tell me in the comments. And if you want me to do something like this in the future, ask me a question, like a broad one, like, how do you play Control? Maybe not that broad, but something like that, like a mechanic of the game you want to learn how to do better, and I will do what I can to teach you guys. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a pretty fun video to make, just in general. It was really interesting to try to make a slideshow, put in some of these cards. I was going to do some animations, but I felt like that was a little bit of overkill. Got a picture from one of my games, because I was like, wait a minute, this game was actually a great example of what I was trying to talk about. It was pretty fun to put together all around. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. See ya.